guys, welcome back to Polly's Paper Studio. This is day 2 of our 12 days of Halloween series. If you're just joining in, I will leave a link in the description for day 1 so you can go back and check that out. But for my project today, I am joining in the challenge at the Funky Junky Boutique blog. We are making treats, not tricks, so we want to create some containers to add treats to, and I picked these vintagey Halloween bags, so stick with me and we will make this together. I've got a strip of white cardstock here and it is 6 by 10 inches. This is just about the easiest treat bag tutorial I could think of, and in previous treat bag tutorials we have decided that a bigger bag is better because it holds more treats. So I am going with a 3.5 by 5 by 1 inch. So you'll want to cut your paper at 6 by 10, score it at 1 inch, at 4.5, at 5.5, at 9, and then flip it over and score 1 inch from the bottom. I went ahead and clipped these portions apart and I removed one of the smaller tabs from the end, and you will only need to have adhesive on 2 sides. Then fold it up and seal it. When you pick your cardstock, of course you'll want to pick one that coordinates with your project. And there we go. So now we have a box that is 3.5 by 5 inches by 1 inch. Can make it even more sturdy if you tuck a piece of thick cut chipboard down into the bottom. So I've got a few of my Funky Junky Boutique supplies here that I picked up. I showed that in a previous haul, and I've got my chipboard sentiments, both of the packs of ephemera, and then I'm also using the abandoned paper stash tablet from Tim Holtz, and I was able to complete one full bag with 1 sheet. There was plenty to go around, and it even finished the back. Now on to the finished project. I picked black to go with my Halloween theme, and I followed the measurements from the beginning, and I've already added my adhesive to the back to make it easy to assemble, but I don't want to do that until I have the paper on first, because I think that will just be easier to get it on straight. So I've got my Tim Holtz abandoned paper cut, and I've got the edges inked as well because it's on that black paper. I want it to not have that white border from the double-sided paper, and I'm gonna cover the back as well. So I just went ahead and cut all of these pieces, and I was able to get enough for the full bag from each piece with some remaining. Now you want to only cover 2 of these smaller sections because one of them will be sandwiched in between when you seal up the bag. So you only need 2 side pieces and 2 pieces for the front and back. I just picked these papers because I liked the grungy pattern, and I thought that orangey was going to go well with my ephemera pieces. So here is this portion done. You can see how that will look when it's closed up. Before I do anything else though, I want to add my trim. This is a little bit of lace and some chenille stem. This is in a kind of vintagey orange color. I think some people call them pipe cleaners. Just depends on how much layering you want to do on the bottom, but I always like more layers, so I'm going to add the trims. And because I'm putting that chenille stem on top, I'm not concerned that that glue came through the lace. I'm going to set up pretty quickly. Okay, so now I have some accent for the bottom, and now is a good time to seal this up. So I'm going to remove this adhesive from the side and fold this over keeping it square so that the box will be square. And just press that in. Give it a good press because you are gonna be adding things to this bag, so you want it to make sure that it stays together well. And then you want to fold the front to the back. So put your side portions in, fold your back in first, and then the front will cover that. So you're going to get a nice clean finished edge on the front of the bag. And like I mentioned before, you could easily add a piece of chipboard in here if you wanted to put other things inside besides just smaller candies. And I also want to mention that I have no idea if scrapbook paper is food safe, so you want to just go ahead and use wrapped candies inside your bag so that you're sure they'll be safe to eat. Alright, so now the base is finished. If you can, go ahead and stick your hand down in there and give it a good press so that you get a good contact. I have prepared already a fringe with the chenille stem in the center. I have a video for this. I made this for basically every holiday, and I will link that in the description so you can go check that out. But it makes a very good sturdy handle that is easy to add. You can use your hot glue to go ahead and press that in there and secure it on the sides. Really press that in well because you're getting through that piece of chenille stem. You want it to contact with the center so that it has a good hold onto the bag. And then decide how large you want your loop. I've prepared one ahead, so I'm just judging on what I already have done so that they will match up, because I want these to be able to be used for like home decor when the treats are eaten, so that they're just nice to have out for the holiday. So you want them kind of to match if they're a display. And I'm just going to add that other side and press it in there. Okay, that also makes a nice shape on the top. It holds its shape really well. All right, for the layers, I am going to start with this Fun Bingo card. This was part of the larger ephemera pack, and I went ahead and gave it a black border of that cardstock just because I think it looks nice to separate the patterns. And I want to judge where that goes because now I can add my trim. So I've got a couple of bows here and I'm going to attach those with hot glue as well. It's nice to have these in place before you add your images so that you know how far down to put them so that everything shows nicely. So that is the top. I've got a die cut doily here that I cut from this brighter orange, and then I inked it with my distress ink just because I thought maybe it would look better being a little more vintagey like that grungy background paper. So that's just going right here. And then I picked another of the ephemera pieces for this one, and it's a circle. It fits pretty well inside that doily. I've also picked this guy because he's just hilarious, and he's going to go flat. Sometimes I do some spacers between, but because the rest of the accents on the front are very bulky, I wanted him to be flat so that he could glue on, especially since he has smaller parts. Here is a glitter star in big and small, and I'm going to add the small one to the top left corner. I'm going to use that hot glue just because I think it holds glitter pieces down a little better, and tuck it underneath of that side of the doily. And then this one will go on the bottom right hand corner. Sorry about that noise from the glue. And that's just going to go here. It's okay if it overlaps a little because the bow overlaps, so it's not going to be sticking out and be obvious that it's not fitting in right. Here's a couple of flowers that I've made with the poinsettia die. That's my Amazing Paper Grace poinsettia die, and I just use Halloween papers for that. The smaller ones are layered here, so instead of one big flower I can have two, and I didn't even put the center in because it's going to be covered, so I'm going to use hot glue again on that and stick that into place. So I know the next piece to add on is a larger one, and then there's a sentiment. So I want to stick on my paper rosette, and I just created that with the black cardstock again, and then I used a punch for that glittery piece. I don't use punches very often, but I do have a scalloped edge and a 1-inch circle from Fiskars, and I just use these whenever I make rosettes. This one is another of the ephemera pieces, but it was already perfectly sized, so I didn't have to worry about that. But you see how nicely that fits into that scallop, and it conceals the center of the rosette. So I think I'll keep using that hot glue because the glitter just needs a lot of extra help to stick down and be secure. So I'm going to put that about right here. I don't want to cover any of my flower, and I don't want it to overhang too much. So I like it right there. And then I'm just going to top it with that 31. When I was going through my ephemera pieces, I intentionally picked ones that I thought wouldn't contrast too much with the paper. So you'll see I've got some ones that have more detail on a more simpler background so that it wouldn't compete too much. Now here's the time for the sentiment, and that's that chipboard again. I picked the narrower ones and the ones that had just one word sentiment because I need it to fit into here. So I'm going to add this right here, right up against, and I use spacers on the back. I want this to be straight so that it would work over top of those petals. And now I want to bring in some mixed media pieces. I've got this onyx ice resin. This is also from Funky Junky Boutique, and I'm going to use this to conceal the center of that flower and add a little detail to the bottom as well. I've just got a scrap paper now so that I can capture all those little pieces that might not adhere correctly the first time, and then make sure that this is a nice full amount of glitter. This is that Tombow Mono Multi that dries clear, so that works perfectly for these kind of embellishments. And I'm just going to shake them on there because I think that that'll be the best way to catch all of that glue. And then tap off the excess. You may need to come in here a few times and kind of dab those in so that you get all of the glue covered. And then shake off as many as the loose pieces as you can. And remember that adhesive is going to dry clear, so you're not going to see that at all. I've got one last little piece of sentiment, and that is just going to go right here at the top to layer on that smaller star, and that will complete the left hand corner of that arrangement. And then I've also got my silver glitter paste. This is the Bow Bunny paste that stays a little bit dimensional, so it's nice when you're wanting to add a bigger accent. It doesn't level out like Stickles does. I'm just gonna very lightly add a little bit to the bottom of this tinsel, and it will, remember the adhesive will dry clear and just the glittery part will show. So this is a subtle accent, but I think it just brings the shiny, sparkly bit of those die cut stars down to the bottom. Don't rush this so you don't glob a whole bunch on. Just do it very gently and slowly. Work your way across. And then I'm just going to add a tiny little bit here where the glue got through that lace, and I don't want that to show. So now you've got your bag all finished. You can decide what you're going to stuff in there as your treat. I picked a couple of treats, and I think they will fall down into the bag and not be as easy to see. So if you want to just squish up a little bit of tissue paper, you can stuff that down in there, or have bigger treats. Whatever works. If you're going to use this as decor, it's a nice idea to keep that tissue in there so that it will hold its shape if it's just sitting on a shelf. And these little orange marshmallow pumpkins had a cute, the only reason I picked these is because they had a cute wrapper. And of course I am going to eat them after, so they will be delicious. And they can stick down in there. Make sure that you let your pieces dry before you handle it too much so your ice resin won't fall off. So here is that finished one. I have 2 more all set, and I did get treats for those as well. And I'm just gonna stick those down in there. And here's the last one. I used all the similar pieces from the ephemera packs and made them in the exact same design. So that is all for day 2 of our 12 days of Halloween series, and also my project for the Treats and Not Tricks challenge at the Funky Junky Boutique Design blog. And if you enjoyed this project, make sure you come back tomorrow for day 3 in our series, and make sure you leave me a like and give me a comment. And if you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.